Hello, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachael for Wednesday, the 30th of March. This month has gone quickly. The last couple of days, Monday I talked about being introverted and getting back into how to be in a big community and how we should, especially after the pandemic. And yesterday I talked about the passing of the peace in church and how important that really is. That sense of touch and being present to one another. Today I'd like to talk about old-fashioned coffee hour. My congregations in Wainwright and Edgerton had their first official coffee hours, except I think we had one or two back in the fall that quickly got canceled. But we had our first, we're back up and running coffee hours. In Wainwright, they have coffee, I think, and I'm never able to stay because I have to get off to Edgerton. But in Edgerton, they think once a month they have like a lunch, a potluck lunch. And so they had a great time, lots of sweets and sandwiches and coffee and good times. Well, I was in Vermilion at St. Saviour's last Sunday, and we had coffee as well. They had hot cross buns. I adore hot cross buns. They're only out sort of one season of the year, obviously, and they're like my favorite sort of treat. I probably shouldn't eat them until Easter, but heck, what do you know? So we had coffee hour, my first coffee hour in a really long time at St. Saviour's in Vermilion. Wonderful people. And it gave me a chance to sort of wander around and talk to people and to get to know them a little bit better. I still couldn't tell you their names. It's going to take me a long time, but eventually I will. But I got to sit down, like to talk to each table, and then I got to sit down and just get to know people a bit better and hear about who's who and who does what and their backgrounds and their hopes and dreams and things like that. And I realized the importance of coffee. During the pandemic, so many things, so many small businesses like coffee shops and things like that suffered so much. But so did we for not being able to go to them. There's something about sitting down with a cup of coffee that really, it encourages conversation. So there's sort of a couple of ways that I think about when I think about coffee shops and myself. I've mentioned before I'm an extrovert, and quite often I really like going to a coffee shop, like going to Jack's Place in Edgerton in Wainwright, or going to a Tim Hortons someplace, or there's always places where you live where you find that place that sells a really good cup of coffee. And sometimes I go and I'll like want to read my book and as I said, I'm an introvert, so if I'm reading my book, it's of two reasons. Either it's a really good book and I'm really enjoying it and I'm just having my coffee and I don't want to be interrupted, or I'm reading my book because even if I don't enjoy it, I'm trying to avoid people. Now, that doesn't mean you can't join me, because I can put my book down. I can always pick it up later. And quite often I enjoy those visits when somebody just pops by. But there's also those kinds of coffee shop visits where you go in and sit down and have your coffee and people just drop by and join you. Or you say, can I meet you at Jack's Place? Can I meet you at 2:00? We'll talk about that, or we'll just get together. We'll shoot the breeze and we'll find out what's going on in life. Having coffee, there's something about it that's, even a cup of tea, whatever, there's something about sitting there with a mug that you can put your hands around and just relax. And the time flies. I mean, I have had times when I've been in a coffee shop and sworn it was only an hour, and I look at my watch and I've been there for 3 hours. Now, I am also the queen of making a cup of coffee last. A little anecdote here. When I was first ordained, I was living in Stratford, Ontario, and I had a couple of male priests in my city. Tim Connor, who was still going to school for his THD, and he was an honorary associate at St. James. And John Spencer, who was the rector at St. James in Stratford, he was also my archdeacon. And Michael Farr, who was the rector at St. Paul's, and he was our regional dean. So I had these 3 gifted, talented priests who had lots of experience and were more than willing to share their experiences with me. And they like to just check in, make sure that I was doing okay as the newbie in town. Well, Michael was a member of the Golf and Country Club. And so he invited us all every Thursday afternoon to go to the country club for peer consultation. Peer consultation. They would all have a beer and I would have a coffee. Now, the clubhouse, of course, how much coffee do you think they sold? not a lot. So every Thursday they put on a pot of coffee. They made me a coffee, and it was awful. This coffee could have, if I'd stirred it, if I'd put anything in it, it would have like dissolved the spoon. It was so strong. But I used to make that cup of coffee last through like for an hour. And it wasn't even a big cup. It was one of those little restaurant cups. It wasn't very big. They encourage you to come back and get more and pay for it. But I would have 1 cup of coffee. And these chip nuts, Michael would buy a bag of chip nuts, and they were nuts wrapped in chip coating. Oh my heavens, they were so good. Can't find them anywhere except in barbecue and hot flavors, but they were so good. My mom knows where to find them outside St. Thomas, at Pickard's, I think it is. They are amazing. Okay, that's beside the point. The idea is, though, that we go and sit and we have peer consultation, usually from about 4 to 5 o'clock on Thursday, which was beautiful for me because Friday's my day off. So that was sort of like the beginning of my weekend, my Friday and Saturday time to me, for myself, to do whatever I needed to do for me. But I have this time with these 3 gentlemen who, in my mind, became very good friends. They were teaching me just by being themselves, chatting about work, chatting about their experiences. They would start off trying to teach me something specific or give me some advice or ask me how things were going, and we just get off into everything, into the weeds. And you know what? It was often in the weeds, as I was holding my coffee cup and drinking these tiny little sips, that I learned the most, because I had these beautiful, wise men in my life who were willing to take the time on me, a 27-year-old, brand new, ordained person, and really give me the opportunity to learn and to question. And most of it, really, for me, was about that cup of coffee and their glass of beer. Because we were relaxed and because we were just together, I was able to grow and mature and participate in something that I wouldn't have had if we had been formally doing that around a board table or sitting in a church, being colleagues together. There's something about having a cup of coffee, breaking bread, eating cookies, eating cheese, fruit, whatever it might be. There's something about the casualness of having coffee together that sort of helps us to let down our guard and to open up our minds and our ears, that we might be able to just be together, to celebrate and to recognize the importance of community. So as my wee parish prepares for ongoing coffee hours, I encourage you to take some time and go get a coffee. If you're in the Wainwright, Edgerton area, meet me for coffee. I'd love to do that, just to see you and chat with you and see how things are going. And we can spend some time just shooting the breeze, getting to know each other. And dude wants to leave here. Getting to know each other and recognizing that we don't have to be formal in the way that we do church, the way we do community. Because some of what God is calling us to do, some of the best stuff that God is calling us to do, is found when we just sit down and have a cup of coffee together. Whether it's after church, or during the week, or in the evening, or when it might be. Even over Zoom or Skype. But just that relaxing together is an important aspect of being community. So I really do encourage you today to take some time to find somebody that you can have coffee with. And if you can't get out, if you're sick at home, or your person you want to have coffee with is far away and all you can do is call each other, do that. Set up a time and say, okay, at 10 o'clock we're going to call, have your cup of coffee, and we'll sit together and have coffee from far away, chatting on the phone, whatever it takes. But enjoy that sense of community that we are now able to have more of as we emerge from our pandemic protections. Have a great day. God bless you, and I will see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel.